Welcome to Daily Dose Radio, a 5-minute devotional podcast studying the Psalms verse by verse. Broadcast from the ever-beautiful Sharonville, Ohio, on the sunny side of Cincinnati. Hey, welcome back to Daily Dose Radio. This is the finest 5-minute Bible bistro on the internet, and today we're opening our doors to the classroom of God's Word at PS 119. Come on in, have a seat. We're doing real good here, and today we're looking at verses 30 and 31. We've been climbing the ladder of prayer that our teacher has created for us in this passage. And so today we've come to verses 30 and 31, and we're going to see radical change takes place in this prayer. We go from requests to confident faith statements in both 30, 31, and in 32, which we'll cover tomorrow. So let me read for you verses 30 and 31. I have chosen the way of your truth. I have placed your judgments on me. I cling to your testimonies, O Lord. Do not let me be put to shame. Boy, there's a lot here that we need to cover today. First of all, notice he says, I have chosen the way of your truth. So this can't happen before now. There's no way that this can happen before now, because the only thing he could choose prior to this was the way of deception. Now he's choosing the way of truth. Why is that? Because he confessed, requested that God would make him understand the precepts. Then the Lord answered that prayer, and the psalmist saw himself in light of the precepts, wept because of that, made another request, removed the way of deception from me, and now with that request answered, we come to verse 30, I have chosen the way of your truth. And you'll notice how I've translated this, I have chosen the way, I have placed your judgments. It's the intent, that past tense intentional act. I have chosen, I have placed. Because only after the soul is redeemed, only after the conscience is revived, only after life is given, can any soul of any man make a choice for truth. Because before that, we're always going to choose the way of deception because our conscience is dead. There's no life there whatsoever. And so, I've chosen the way of your truth comes only after I have confessed and repented, seeing myself in the light of God's Word. Then the law is gracious to me and revives me, and I can choose the way of truth. So this is one of those statements that we've seen in the Psalter many times, this confident confession of faith. I have chosen the way of your truth. I have placed your judgments on me. Only the man that's redeemed, only the man who's had the way of deception removed can say, I've placed your judgments on me. And it's beautiful. This is a prayer that we all need to pray. And this is a statement that this prayer will lead us to make. And then he says, verse 31, I cling to your testimonies, O Lord. This is the transformational moment described with our prime word, cling. Remember, we began this section in verse 25, my soul clings to the dust. Now we come to the end of our section, of our 8 verses, and we have, I cling to your testimonies. So instead of clinging to the dust, now I'm clinging on to God's testimonies. There's such a difference here. Death before was the companion. The flesh was the thing that the soul was attached to. It was stuck to. It had grown together into. But now there's something different. Something has replaced the flesh. Something has replaced the dust. And that is the testimonies of the Lord. Because there's been a revival. There's been a redemption that's taking place. Choosing the way of truth describes that redemption for us, and now clinging to the testimonies is where the psalmist wanted to bring us in this section. This is why it's so important. And then he says, do not let me be put to shame. So remember how we talked about that in the very first section. This is the hold my hand now. I'm going to walk in this way, but you've got to hold my hand. Actually, this construction, do not let, happens in verse 8, verse 10, verse 19, and again here in verse 31. So I'm interested to see how often this do not let phrase occurs throughout Psalm 119. Watch with me as we go through. Join me again next time. We're going to do verse 32 on Daily Dose Radio. Thanks for listening to Daily Dose Radio. I'm David Smith. The music today has been performed by the Bluegrass Experiment. Thanks again for listening. I'll see you next time on Daily Dose Radio.